Welcome to another episode of Educating Homebuyers, the podcast. I'm your host, Brady, and my mortgage team has over 9 years of mortgage experience here in Des Moines, Iowa. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, investing, or simply just curious about the market, this show is all about helping you and future homebuyers feel informed, educated, and comfortable as you take your next step. Each week, I sit down with real estate professionals, past clients, and local experts to unpack real stories, real advice, and what you actually need to know when buying a home today. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today, we're joined by the powerhouse in the Cedar Rapids and Iowa City real estate scene, someone who's built an incredible business around the results, relationship, and relentless commitment to her clients' success. With over $60 million in closed sales and more than 4 years of experience, she brings a deep market knowledge and a true passion for helping people buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Her approach is personal with high standards, and her clients know that she's the only one that they can count on to get it done. Alexis Kemp-Sagert, welcome to Educating Homebuyers.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. How did I do? Did I butcher the name?
I know you did great.
Did I?
Yeah.
You promise?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
A lot of people say Sagert, so Sagert.
I'm always nervous about that. I'm pretty confident I've definitely messed up some names before on other episodes, so I always like to ask for clarification. But
no, you did great.
Well, thank you for joining me. First and foremost, for context for everybody listening, if you're not familiar with who she is, she's not from Des Moines, which is I'm super excited because this is my first opportunity to have a conversation, and frankly, for somebody to take the risk to drive this far to come be featured on an episode. So excited to have a conversation.
I was going to ask you about that earlier.
Yeah, this is actually my first time technically filming an episode with somebody that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've connected via social media and we've been following each other for a while. And that's for everybody listening how we connected. But yeah, excited to learn about the differences and a different perspective than what we have here in our market, and just hear, kind of how it compares in your story. So
yeah, definitely.
Let's kind of start with that. Give everybody a background. Who are you? How did you get into real estate? What's that looked like for you?
Yeah, so I am from Keokuk, Iowa, so southeast Iowa. Okay. Went to college at Wartburg College, and then met my husband. He went to UNI, and he's from Center Point, Iowa.
Got it.
And I went to college for marketing, so journalist communications and marketing, business marketing. So I was a marketing coordinator for an awesome company called Almond Companies. They're still around, and they're big developers in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. So, I was their intern. I ended up graduating college early to start with them full time because they were hiring a marketing coordinator. So started with them, moved to Marion, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And then, I was just sitting at my desk one day and I was like, I want to do more. I want to make an impact and help. What can I do to care for others, help people out and everything like that, that's not behind a desk. Mm-hmm. And, I was like, oh, that sounds like a nurse. I should be a nurse. Okay. But I pass out every time I see blood. So
probably wouldn't have been the right fit then.
Wasn't going to be a nurse. I was like, what can I do to help others? And my sister-in-law is actually a realtor, broker owner in Cedar Falls. Okay. So I decided to get in the avenue of real estate. The developer I worked for did home designs and did rentals and commercial real estate. Okay. I was assistant to a commercial realtor. Sure. So joined a team at Remax Concepts in Cedar Rapids in 2021. Mm-hmm. Loved it. I was his assistant. I was like, ooh, I want to get my real estate license. Yeah. Started with him, was with him for about 6 months. He taught me so much. And then I was like, wow, I am loving this. And now 4 years later, I have my own team. I have 2 agents on my team and an assistant. And I'm loving every second of it. It's been awesome.
I have to give you a shout out. That's a lot to accomplish in a 4-year window. I don't know if you ever give yourself enough credit for that. I don't know you well enough to know, but I will tell you that the amount of numbers and people you've helped in that 4-year stretch is that's really, really impressive. So
thank you. Yeah.
Shout out to you guys. What's that looked like? So you started, you said on a team for somebody else, and that was really only a 6-month window. Mm-hmm. What has business development or business growth looked like for you in the 4 years?
Yeah, it has grown every year, which is awesome. I think this year we are going to have the opportunity to help 125 families.
So cool.
Which is awesome. So Really, I mean, I'm on a now friend family referral basis, which has been amazing. And then actually the company that I said I worked for as a marketing coordinator, they brought me on, and I'm on a huge development of selling 62 townhomes with them.
Okay.
I have 11 listed right now, and I just sold my first one about a month ago.
Love it.
And then, so, just really making sure that, we're care for these people. Like I said, a big thing was like, I want to do something that shows like, hey, I care for you. I get so emotionally invested in this. Like if there's something wrong, like I want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
And like my clients might be stressing that their house not selling. I'm also stressing that their house isn't selling. So, which
that's got to be an interesting development, because you started in, like you said, 2021, right?
Yes.
Which, as most people know, that the market now is entirely different than what you were first exposed to when you first got going.
Correct.
How has that changed as far as, your efforts to help, maybe a listing sell, or, what your buyers are getting access to? What does that look like now compared to what you had access to in 2021?
Yeah. So 2021, I was on a team and everything like that. So I'm trying to think. It's a really good question. I mean, I've kind of done like like I said, I had a background in marketing. So marketing has always been huge. Social media, communication is another big thing, staying up and following up with people, and being personal, being great, and being good with the community, being a part of different things. Yeah, that's a hard one.
Do you notice a difference in, like, so say for instance, and obviously you probably didn't have this conversation the moment you got licensed per se, right? But let's say, after 12 months of being a realtor, do you notice a difference in the conversations you have with taking on a new client today versus that same conversation you would have 3 years ago? Yes,
definitely. I mean, we're back to a normal market. I started not in a normal market.
Right.
So I'm learning the normal market and what has helped me is I've been trying to educate myself a lot. I feel like education's huge. So I've been going to a lot of real estate conferences, real estate retreats of learning from, people that have been in the business longer than me and 10 plus years, and learning like, hey, like, what does this normal market? So yes, the conversations have changed definitely with buying and selling. Buying, I'm not like, hey, we got to talk about escalation clause or no inspections. Like we're able to come in with a good offer, but not over asking and all that. And sellers, I'm talking to them like, hey, it's not 2021. Your house isn't worth this much more, and it's not going to sell. And there's a great possibility that's not going to sell within the first week either. We might see that 30 to 45 days, which is back in that normal market.
Which is funny because 4 years ago, if it would have sat for a week, people would have been like, what's wrong? Yeah. What am I doing wrong?
Exactly.
Whereas now it's like you can understand that it's not supposed to be overnight, right? Like it's supposed to take time, and it's an interesting skew of perspective for a lot of people. And
I'm also in two different markets. So Iowa City market is very different than Cedar Rapids market.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. So Iowa City, their price point is way higher than Cedar Rapids price point. I don't know the actual numbers, but, or percent wise, but it's a lot higher. And then, their days on market are also a lot less than Cedar Rapids days on market. So I always, if I have a client that's like, hey, we live in Iowa City, but we want to be opposed to Cedar Rapids, I'm like, you're going to get so much for your bang for your buck if you do like South Cedar Rapids even. And, you're going to have maybe a 20-minute commute.
I was going to say 20-minute drives, really not.
Instead of a 10-minute commute or whatever, because, Iowa City, obviously, you just have 380 that goes straight down there. So, Iowa City, Iowa City market, I feel like I'm helping out a lot of like grad students or
a lot of medical professionals.
Yes, a lot of medical. I actually have 3 listings right now. That one's a pharmacist that has to move. I had 2 in this summer where they had to move for medical, and so that's fun. Then Cedar Rapids, I work with a lot of different, because everyone's like, do you just do first time home buyers? Or I was like, I do a lot of first time home buyers, and then I have a lot of older couples that are needing to downsize. Their kids are out of the house. They've been in this house 40, 50 years, and they're like, all right, we're ready for a condo and a townhome. So, and
talk about 2 different, total opposite emotional changes, right?
Yes.
Like we talk about how much we care and the emotions that go into selling real estate. How much different is that conversation, or really even closing day, right? With the first time home buyer versus somebody who's getting rid of the home that they have 40 years of memories in.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement, and then there's a lot of bittersweet.
2 different spectrums there, but it's cool to navigate both, and especially don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to do this for a long time. Right. And so it'll be interesting as our careers continue, how we get to see both sides of that, you know, and
exactly.
like we love that transition. And I always say that, like, again, selling real estate or doing mortgages is more than the product we're selling. We're not focused on the loan itself. We're not focused on the house necessarily. We're focused on helping that person find the place that they're going to create lifelong dreams and families and memories. So yeah, that's a cool perspective. No,
it is. Yeah. It's very awesome, like, to see the first-time home buyers get so excited, and then going into those listing appointments where they've lived there for 30 to 40 years, and they're like, you know, just tell us all the memories about it and getting to know them. Like, I had actually a listing appointment this morning before I drove here, and they lived at that house they built it 70, I think they said 67 years ago or something like that.
Crazy.
And, like, there was a daughter taking me around. She's like, yeah, we actually live down here, and like my dad did this, my dad did that, and all these custom touches, and it was just super, super neat. And you know, it's bittersweet. But
that's a cool opportunity for then you to learn that and then be able to market that to, you know, new prospective buyers. You know,
lots of awesome, unique
and there's
features
character that people can fall in love with, and I'm sure that whoever ends up buying that property will have the ability to then make it theirs and do different unique things. So that's really cool. Let's talk a little bit about just the difference. And I'm curious, and maybe you don't have a ton of knowledge about Des Moines, but I'd love to give everybody a perspective on the difference in what you face in your market versus us. Like, do you know anything off the top of your head that would be different right off the bat?
No. You know, we were driving in this morning, and I was like, we're a lot smaller market than you guys. Right. Because, I mean, Des Moines is just huge. I mean, we were in Waukee for lunch this afternoon.
I know, I feel bad. I made you drive all over the metro.
Now we're downtown Des Moines. And then
literally, you poor thing came in from this side of town. You're on this side. Now we're south of downtown.
Yeah, hey, we're getting closer back to Cedar Rapids.
Giving you the tour, right?
Yeah, I love it. But Des Moines market, I mean, obviously I'm Remax Concepts, so we have a lot of offices in the Des Moines area.
Right.
So just talking with them and being on like monthly meetings with them, it sounds like they hit the more normal market than Cedar Rapids, Iowa City did.
So we found that sooner than you?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I've kind of learned, and talking with them and stuff like that. Other than that, it's very different. You just have so many areas in this. Right. Like, I mean, we have Cedar Rapids, Marion. Like, those are our two, and then we have small towns. Right. And, like, you guys, I feel like, you know, you have Waukee, Altoona.
But I would say buying in those, like, metros in the city are all fairly similar, right? Yes. And I don't want to speak on behalf of agents because I'm not out in the trenches like you guys are, obviously. Yeah. But from my perspective, I would have to imagine that, like, when you're comparing a house in Ankeny and comparing a house in West Des Moines, there's probably a lot of the similarities that both neighborhoods would offer, right? Whereas when you're comparing Marion versus a small town that's, you know, 10 minutes away, two entirely different availabilities and what those houses can offer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a small town where all we have is a Dollar General and a Casey's. Yeah.
Which is what I grew up around that stuff, so I'm familiar with that.
I love it. I love the small town I live in. Yeah. But then, you can go 15 minutes south but you're paying a lot more in Cedar Rapids area, and it's going to be, $100,000 more.
Right. So how does your target market determined? Like, what's your niche as far as like how far out are you willing to help a client?
Yeah. So we have a listing going live that's an hour away tomorrow. Okay. And then, I do go all the way down to Iowa City, which Iowa City is like 45 minutes away from me, but I love that market. I love that area. I've met some amazing people. Like, it's just fun helping those grad students, and I help a lot more first-time home buyers in that Iowa City market than I do Cedar Rapids market. But yeah, I would say an hour roughly is what I travel. So we do Center Point, Urbana, Mount Vernon, Lisbon, Anamosa, Coggin, Central City, Fairfax, Walford, all those small towns.
All those towns that I'm very familiar with, clearly.
Yeah. Yesterday we were in Randalia. Have you ever heard of Randalia?
I've not.
Yeah. It's a new
I don't get out much, clearly. I do need to come up to your neck of the woods. I was in Iowa City on Saturday, actually. At the time of filming this is right after Iowa lost to Oregon. And I happened to be one of the poor souls that was fighting that weather on Saturday.
I was also there.
Were you?
Yes.
Holy cow, I was cold.
It was a lot, yeah.
I was just very underdressed for the rain more than anything.
Yeah.
It's just funny because we got notice that the rain was coming.
Yeah.
I was just like trying to convince myself it wasn't going to rain.
Yeah.
And that very much did not happen. It rained all day.
It was still fun. It was a great game.
I had a good time, and yeah, it was a good game. We would have preferred to
win,
end up the other way around. But
I was sitting like I have season tickets there, and I was on row 13 or 12 or something like that, and everyone was coming down to line up to storm the field, and I was like, "Oh, you're getting me so excited!" Yeah. But here we are.
Yeah, that was a bummer, to say the least. I always joke with my parents afterwards. Like, I had like 3 minutes of fun during the game, and it was when we took the lead in the fourth quarter, and then it all went away.
Yeah.
But shout out to Oregon for pulling it out. It was a good game, and it's one we'll never forget for sure. But I was much colder than I would have liked to be, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to the hand warmers. Mm-hmm. Those things were game changers. I'm pretty confident I would have probably at least tried to convince my friend to leave if it wasn't for the hand warmers in my pocket. Those things were like the only thing keeping me alive. And I also used those toe warmers. You ever used those before?
Yes.
I threw one in my shoe and I didn't feel it at all. So I don't know if I just didn't do it right or what, but my toes were frozen.
I love it.
I also didn't wear the right shoes. I just wasn't rainproof, but
yeah,
that's just a random side conversation we're having, I guess. It's not necessarily real estate related, but
go ahead.
No, you go. You were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, being a lender for 8 to 9 years and us going into now to the normal market, like how has it been for you, and what's your advice to like other like us agents? And
here's what I would tell you is you have to look at the lending picture at a bigger picture than just real estate. That's my number one advice, is you have to look at a client's lending perspective and how much they borrow at a comfort level more than what you qualify for. Because the reality is the guidelines from a mortgage standpoint allow people to buy more than they probably should. So my number one priority, and I've talked about this on other episodes, is I always have a consultation with clients up front to go through and say, hey, what's your comfort level? What do you want out of a monthly payment and a cash to close standpoint? Those are the two biggest things that I always drive home, because don't get me wrong, obviously the amount of money you borrow is important. I don't want to like downplay that. Yeah. But it really matters what you're comfortable with from a monthly payment standpoint.
Definitely.
And a lot of times we can get people qualified for way more than what they're comfortable with. And that's not where my heart lies. And so that's kind of my priority. And what I'm finding is that as this market is softening and slowing down a little bit, is the driving factors that's causing this slowdown is not really real estate related. It seems like there's a massive magnifying glass on interest rates. The reality is interest rates aren't that bad. There's a lot of other things that are also impacting that. And I actually talked about that on the episode that went live this morning, so I won't duplicate content for anybody listening. But grand scheme of things is there's just a lot of expenses that I would encourage people to evaluate before they make their house decision. Yeah. And just making sure that, we have an understanding of how much are you wanting to borrow. And this is an interesting topic. And by the time this comes out, it'll be a little bit seasoned, because we released these episodes in delayed, but this week, as of the time of filming, was when all the speculation of these 40 and 50 year mortgages was popped out there, which I have opinions. I'll leave my opinions to myself because they are what they are. It's a fine line of like, I do think that homeownership needs some sort of avenue to improve affordability, right? And that's what I think the heart behind bringing out 40 or 50 year mortgages would be, right? Is to, at the end of the day, our government, at least I'm assuming, wants to make homeownership more affordable for Americans. That's what they're looking at. But what I have to encourage clients to look at is when you're looking at a mortgage is how much does it cost you to borrow that money? You're still borrowing that money. And I think that these longer term mortgages, and I look at it in a similar light to what's going on with student loans right now and this whole forgiveness thing, it's kind of skewing people's perspective of why and how you borrow money. You are borrowing money, right, when you're taking out a loan. And I think with forgiving student loans and expanding terms on mortgages, it's just skewing people's thoughts of whether you actually have to pay that money back or not.
Exactly.
Which is a scary concept to think about. Like, you have to still take ownership. I've always been raised of like, if you borrow money from anybody, whether it's a person, a friend, a bank, whatever, you pay that back, right? Like, that is money that you owe someone. Yeah. I just don't want these longer term mortgages to skew people's perspective of that and think that like you just never have to pay this back. And it also becomes, it's closer and closer to rent the longer those terms end up being. But on the flip side, and I'm going on a spiel here, so I apologize, but on the flip side, when looking at a 50 year mortgage, you have to remember that the odds of keeping that mortgage for 50 years is very, very slim. The average lifespan of a mortgage, regardless of term, is between 3 and 7 years. So what normally happens in that 3 to 7 year window is you either refinance to a shorter term or a lower rate, or you take money out and take cash out to do improvements or pay off other debts or whatever it is, or you move, or you upgrade, or, like life happens, right?
Exactly.
And so that's where I want to kind of pause everybody that's panicking and making these longer terms seem like this horrible idea, because they can be okay as long as you understand that. But again, on the flip side, when you do these longer term mortgages, if you do a 50-year loan, your amortization is going to be significantly slowed. So those first 3 to 7 years that usually are the only times that you keep a loan, you're going to make less of an impact on how much your principal is.
Yeah, definitely. And
so that's a part that I would caution people on, is understanding when you buy a house. And I would say the same thing about a client that's looking to take out a 30-year mortgage but utilizing 100% financing, is understanding what does your equity position look like and what does it cost when you go to sell it down the road. And I think that's a point that is not talked about enough, is, you see so many people in our industry highlighting programs that allow people to get into homes with no money out of pocket without educating on what it costs when you want to sell the home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a tidbit of information that I would share on that front, is like making sure that people understand the product they're getting into, which all circles back to us as the professionals taking the time to go over that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Whenever I have a buyer consultation, I always make sure, have you done like a consultation with your lender?
Yeah.
To know, like, yes, they pre-approved you for this, but what's that look like for your monthly payment? Are you comfortable with that? Because that's a huge thing. I mean, anyone could be pre-approved up to $750, but you might only be comfortable with that $500,000 house.
Right.
So
what does it look like? And this is more just a curiosity question, but when you meet with a client for the first time that's looking to buy, do you ever talk about what it looks like to sell?
Yeah, so that's a big thing. I make sure, and I say this to all of my buying clients, I'm not going to let you buy a house that I wouldn't buy or don't see the like equity in it as well, because I don't want you calling me in 2 to 3 years and I'm like, they're like, hey, Alexis, we're ready to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. You bought that for $250 2 to 3 years ago. And I think I can only sell it for like $215 now. Like, I don't want anyone to be calling me and I'm gonna have to break the news. Hey, you're gonna be upside down. So I always make sure, like, when I'm walking through a house with a client, I make sure that has great resale value. Yeah. And I express, hey, these are the things that I would do if you are thinking about this is only a 3 to 5 year house, or because I know you have some people that come and they live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, especially the Iowa City area, that this is only a 3 to 5 year job. Sure. And then I'm being transferred somewhere else. So just have to always be careful of.
Those are important details for you to know as your agent, right?
Exactly.
Like they have to be able to let you know kind of what that plan looks like. Because again, we have to be able to help coordinate that and navigate what that looks like.
Yeah.
I just think that's really important, right? And not enough people probably discuss that, because to your point, that resale thing is important, because you have to make sure there's at least a little bit of growth or principal pay down in order to justify what it costs to sell when the time comes.
Exactly.
And also understanding we can't control what the market does. I think that grand scheme of things, you look over the last 40 or 50 years, big picture, we've been really spoiled with real estate because it's just always gone up, other than 2008, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's a skewed perspective, because it's not sustainable for that to happen forever. Like, it's not consistently sustainable for 4% to happen every single year, unless wage growth also follows that trend, which we all hope it does, right? And that's what the point of the Fed is and everything like that. But that's really what we've been battling this last 3 years with inflation and everything else that's been, the leading cause of why interest rates have gone up, is we're really battling making sure that the wage growth and income growth in the United States keeps up with the housing inflation and everything else. And so, I don't know, it's super mortgage nerdy and stuff, but I think that's a great point to talk about. So if you guys are ever considering buying or selling, make sure you're talking to your realtor like Alexis and just understand the full big picture, and don't just make a rational, quick decision now, and help us help you put a plan in place, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
I love it. Well, listen, I could sit here and talk to you all day. I apologize about being a 30-minute episode because it goes so fast. And you guys made a long trek over here, but I've really enjoyed our time. We're kind of approaching that 30-minute window.
Yeah,
but
thank you so much for having me and getting to know more about you.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm excited to do our first deal together, hopefully soon.
Yeah, you let me know on that, but we'll definitely be in touch. We'll continue to connect. Excited to connect with your database too and the following on the podcast. Hopefully everybody enjoyed some valuable stuff. I always put a plug at the end. If anybody's watching this and had an interest in reaching out to Alexis or knows anybody in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, she would love to help you. I'll be sure to link all of her stuff below. Tag her social media. Instagram, I assume, is a great way to get a hold of you.
Yeah, Instagram, I have a website now that we just created a couple months ago.
Boom, go check that one out then.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
I love it. Well, this has been another episode of Educating Homebuyers. Thanks again, Alexis, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next time.